Hi, thank you for being with us today. I'm Teresa Bruno, and I'm the host of the Soul Talks podcast. I say this over and over again, but just to remind you that this podcast is all about surviving. It is about our survival stories, it is about healing, hope, our way out, finding courage. Because as I like to say, I firmly believe in it, it's the walk I walk all the time, is that we are all surviving something. Today, we're going to talk with our resident therapist, Sheri Ryland, who's with us. Thank you, Sheri. Every Monday, we count on you to help us get through our week. But we're talking about fertility today. It's a topic that a lot of times isn't talked about very much. Seeking fertility help, a fertility journey, and because I have friends who have been through that journey, I've had employees who've been through that journey. You know, I think sometimes we forget that it can be one of the most grueling, one of the most heartbreaking journeys. And Sheri has a personal story in it. So thank you for joining us, and let's talk about this tough topic. So you and I have talked a little bit, and you have these two beautiful, healthy boys that I think are
Yes.
just amazing. And I had no idea, when I met you, that you had a really tough fertility journey.
Right. Well,
So,
and that's the thing that got me through it was having a good therapist to help me through it. So the reason why I like to bring it up is also because when you're a therapist and you have people come in and go through things that you have yourself gone through, um, they say we're not allowed to really talk about our
identify,
own
yeah.
our own journeys, right? And which I think is a disservice because that has allowed me to connect with my clients in a way that I never would have been able to. For me to be able to say, I just want you to know that I've also been on this journey.
Mhm.
They may or may not know that I already have kids, that that I did eventually have children, which is hard also because for me, it's easier to say about my journey because
You
I
had two
have
healthy
children,
children,
right?
right,
And
and that is definitely not always the case.
Right, exactly. And so I do have clients now that are going through the journey of of infertility, of going through testing, treatments, doing in vitro, doing all those things that go along with it. Having to make decisions: do I buy eggs, donor eggs? Do I have to buy donor sperm? All the different things that come along with that.
Yeah,
That the grief of not being able to just be like every other
and make a
woman
baby.
and make a baby.
Have sex and make a baby,
Right. Right. And
and there are a lot of people who cannot do that.
absolutely, right? And it's not just, oh, if I throw enough money at it, right?
Mhm.
Because it is an absolutely very
Oh my gosh.
expensive journey that I had no idea, right? No one in my family has ever had a problem, you know. And my husband at the time, no one in his family, like, what are you talking about? We have to go out of our way to make sure that does not happen.
Right.
So um, in my, we were kind of the oddity in our family. Um, we had a 4 year long journey that felt like it was forever. Here, when you're at a certain age, you're being told. I got married at 22. I was finished grad school for my master's at 25. What's wrong with you? Why aren't you getting pregnant? Where are the kids? In-laws saying, come
Mm,
on, why are you denying us this?
yeah.
Well, screw you. I'm not trying to deny you anything, right? So the idea is that it becomes now this identity crisis. I can't
Yeah.
be a mom. I can't be, I'm not good enough. Like this word that it permeates every part of us,
Right.
right? So the process of making a decision to even go through that first appointment of saying, hey, we've been trying for a year. That's the magic number, they say.
Really.
We've been trying for a year. What can we do next? This
Mhm.
isn't happening, right? Something that should be so natural. If you really sit down and look at it, how much it actually takes for the body to become, for a female to become pregnant is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Um, so it's now the question of, is it my fault or is it yours?
Which
Right?
it
Are
really
you the
isn't
problem?
funny.
Or am I the problem? Right?
Yeah.
And so, and then
And that
a lot
probably
of times,
creates a lot of tension in a marriage.
absolutely, right.
Okay,
And
you got to be tested because I'm okay.
right. But you know what? No one's ever going to tell you. I mean, they tell you, but how many times is it, well, I can't really tell you what the problem is because we don't really know because everything seems to be working okay. And then you have my favorite is people calling and saying, you know what, maybe it's just not in God's timing, or it's not, it's just not ready for it yet. Well, that's when I really want to punch someone in the throat because that's not what I want to hear.
Right.
So that's where I can relate to my clients and say, I promise you, I'll never tell you that kind of stuff.
Right.
I promise you that I will never say, maybe it was for the best.
Oh gosh.
Nobody wants to hear that, right? Or there's a lot of things people say, and that's another reason why it's so important to talk about this, because people, just like in any other grief, people don't know what to say. Or some people will have one child and not be able to get pregnant again, and they'll say, well, you have one, isn't that good enough for you?
Mm-hmm.
And that's still a mourning of the dream of having a family the size you wanted, or
Right.
having another. I can't give my daughter or son a sibling.
Right.
So it's a lot of emotions tied up in, and then forget about the progesterone and the estrogen shots and the this shot and the that shot and the timing of everything. If you want to have a job and try to do this, it's very hard. IVF is a very challenging situation. So it's a lot of challenge between you and your partner,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of devastation of, we went through all of this together. We got our
There was
hopes up.
hope, and then there wasn't.
Exactly. And hearing a lot of people say, I just don't want to have hope anymore, because if I have hope, then my heart will be broken again.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that breaks my heart.
Right. And so
Breaks my heart.
that's really hard for me on this side, because I did get to the point where I was able to have my children without intervention.
Right.
But I was at the point where I was looking for adoption. We were looking at international adoption. We looked at everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as the story goes, I got pregnant anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not everybody's story.
No, it's not.
And it's probably not most stories.
No.
But everyone will say, that person I knew down the street when they did this, right? So I think we all need to really just be careful in how we talk to people going through this, just like any other grief.
I agree.
Is choosing our words and knowing that this is a loss of future, whether I have to have donor eggs or any donor sperm, or if I have to have somebody else carry my baby, which is a whole nother thing that people don't really talk about, surrogacy. And so that I lost the ability to do that is a huge,
as a woman, just so debilitating.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and then you have a lot of moral and religious things that feather into all of this that you have to work through. It's a tangled mess of a lot of pain and a lot of hope in some cases, and some cases none at all.
Right.
Heartbreaking. I've just watched several friends and employees go through heartbreaking journeys, spend all the money that they've saved for a long time, and then not have a baby. And just it's my heart just breaks. My heart reaches out, and it is a tough topic to talk about. People don't want to talk about it. I think it's kind of like grief. Nobody wants to, or even knows what to say. I mean, it's just one of those things we don't have good language for. But I really do appreciate you encouraging us. First, we need therapy going through this. We need a lot of therapy going through this. As partners and separately, because there's just so much pain, and does bring up all the things, all the places where we think we're not enough.
Right. And don't forget the husbands, right? They're just as, or the partners, like they're just as stressed and hurt, and they don't know what to do. Like they're doing the only part they know how, and the woman is dealing with a lot of other stuff, and then having to be the support for that person. It's a lot of pressure. So as a family member or as a friend, just like any other grief, this is a time to just be a listener.
Just sit alongside, but you don't have to have answers.
Because you're not going to.
Yeah, be careful with your words. So thank you for this time on this tough tough topic.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you, of course, always.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening. I hope that this was helpful. Please write to us and let us know what you'd like to hear about from Sheri. And until next week, take care and take hope.